Oh, it's so good to see how the Fullers supported me during the election. They bought so many votes, and they made sure my toga was much more white than the other candidates' togas. I really could not have been elected without them. Hmm. Oh, so wait a curious. I'm so glad to hear that you're interested in learning more about the politics of the Colonia Veneria Cornelia Pompeianorum, or Pompeii as we all call it. It is a great honor to have been elected duovirate, and I would never have passed up the opportunity to make a name for myself, serving one of the truly remarkable cities in Italy. Really, the best city in this most pleasing area.
The duovirate Decurionum is the highest city official in Pompeii. The title signifies that there are two men who hold this position, and their duty is to preside over court cases. Other than the duovirate, there are two aediles viis aedibus sacris publicisque procurandis. Their job, as their name suggests, is to look after the city's roads, buildings, sacred sites, and public lands. The four men who hold these offices only have a 1 year term, and then a new set of magistrates takes office. These offices are elected by the Comitium, a body of Pompeian citizens eligible to vote. The officials are advised by the Ordo Decurionum, which is the town council of Pompeii and is made up of wealthy men over the age of 25 who either had held public office or were chosen by the quinquennales. The quinquennales were simply the duovirate in every 5th year who had the extra task of choosing the decurions for the Ordo. These Pompeian offices are modeled on the Roman magistracies. Other than the emperor, there are two consuls. Like the duovirate, these men are like the president, but have great legal authority over the state, second only to the emperor. Usually, during the year, the consuls resign and are replaced with suffect consuls so that more men could hold this distinguished post. There are also 16 praetors, who are in charge of judicial affairs within Rome, or they sometimes have served as treasurers. Below the praetors are quaestors, who help keep track of the empire's money within the senatorial provinces, and sometimes had held responsibility for the treasury in the Temple of Saturn in Rome. In addition, there are aediles who maintain public buildings and roads and who host some religious festivals involving games, and the 10 tribunes of the plebs try to prevent other magistrates from abusing Roman citizens. Various assemblies elected these magistrates. In the 621st year from the foundation of the city, the traditional peacefulness and orderliness of elections ended. Tiberius Gracchus had some radical proposals about the use of public land, and he attempted to be elected tribune of the plebs for an unprecedented second term, so a group of Roman elites murdered him. Violence became a more regular part of Rome's politics for the next century, including a few civil wars. The war in the 665th year after the foundation of Rome involved the general Sulla besieging, but he did not capture, the city of Pompeii. You can still see the projectiles' damage to the city walls today. Another civil war established the Principate with the reign of Augustus. Since then, the emperor sponsored some candidates who were invariably elected, and the people elected other candidates for these offices. The politics of Pompeii have been much less violent, except for the riot in the 812th year from the foundation of Rome, but that was because of a gladiatorial competition with the rivals from Nuceria. After the Nucerians protested to the Roman Senate, the Pompeians were punished. Pompey could not hold games for 10 more years, and voluntary associations were banned. Otherwise, the election of city magistrates has been fairly peaceful, just like Aulus Puppetius's recent election to duovirate. The campaign was hard fought. The fruit sellers supported Suetius Verus, and some fullers supported Marcus Appidius Sabinus. Aulus's astounding victory resulted from a combination of local strategies and those used in Rome, or at least those that an unknown advisor of Marcus Tullius Cicero, possibly his brother Quintus, suggested that he use in the consular election of the 689th year from the foundation, which Cicero won. As consul, Cicero led the investigation of and quelling of the conspiracy of Catiline. Aulus's strategy was based on making his presence known throughout the city, whether he was there or not. Like other candidates, Aulus and his supporters painted election posters on prominent walls throughout the city. Each day, Aulus held his normal salutatio, where the people of Pompeii could come, ask him for favors, and he would clarify what he promised and proposed and what others proposed. After this daily campaign event, Aulus took the show out of his home and to various parts of the city. He was always accompanied by his friends, supporters, and most importantly, the men on whose behalf he spoke in legal disputes. Whenever and wherever he strolled with his entourage, he always greeted voters by name. This feat, for which Marcus Appius Sabinus relied on a slave to feed him names, truly endeared the voters to Aulus. They thought he was their friend.
I thought it was important to make use of my social connections and make many new friends when I was seeking office. After all, you never know how some people will vote. For instance, Trebius the bartender. Marcus Appius Sabinus and I both helped him out when his business was having trouble, so there's no telling how he would vote. I just tried to make sure Trebius knew that Appius and I really respected each other. There'd be no hard feelings if he voted for Appius. I think that's what made Trebius vote for me. My kindness.
We all know Aulus was well respected by the Decurions, and many of them campaigned for him too. That was very nice of them, and I'm sure it swayed a lot of people's votes. But what swayed me was how he dealt with the aqueduct issue. One day, old Suetius Verus started talking about how great it was when the aqueduct worked. Water poured into the fountains, into fancy mansions, and all over the street. Well, Crescens wondered what Aulus would do to fix it. I mean, that does sound great. Unbelievable, even. So, Crescens, he asked Aulus why everyone else promised to get the water running again. But Aulus wouldn't. Now, Aulus, he rose slowly as everyone waited with bated breath for this great orator to stir our hopes and promised to bring back the rivers in the streets. But he didn't. He confidently and calmly said he wouldn't make that promise. He would not make a promise he couldn't keep. The city simply didn't have enough money. Well, with the earthquake destroying so much and all, Aulus said we should repair our homes, repair our city, and make Pompeian an even greater city. To get the aqueduct, we would need to have help from Rome, engineers, money, slaves, and you know what? When he said that, it clicked. We just don't have the resources ourselves, and I appreciated his honesty. Right then, I decided to vote for Aulus and ignore the mudslinging and foolish promises of the other, less friendly, less morally fit candidates. He got my vote. And he got a lot of votes with that gamble, enough to make him one of the leading officials in Pompeii.
I am Aulus Puppetius, and I approve this documentary.